What's up, everyone? We've got some very important earnings coming out this week. Things are about to get very spicy. So in today's video, we're going to talk about the earnings. We're going to talk about the overall view of the market, the technical indicators and everything. Should be a pretty relatively short video. So I hope you guys have an amazing Sunday. Welcome to the video. Let's get started. So number one, there's no real macroeconomic news that's going to be coming out this week, which will basically cause the market to move. It's going to be a relatively dry week, essentially. The only important thing that's going to come out is Monday morning Empire State Manufacturing Index. Aside from that, there's absolutely nothing important really coming out. So that's a good sign. So the earnings is going to be one of the most important things. So obviously, starting off this week, we have bank earnings continuing with plenty of companies basically happening before market open. BNY Mellon is one of them. They wanted to sue me about 3 years ago for copyright claim. That didn't really go through, so I hope BNY Mellon misses. But aside from that, the most important names, obviously, it's going to be a very important week for the IWM because there's economically sensitive stocks in the IWM, banks, etc. All right. So basically, we also have Netflix earnings coming out Tuesday after the close. Then we have Tesla. So, and then AT&T, Snap, etc. So this is going to be a really fun week for earnings. It's going to be very interesting. But aside from earnings, there's no real macroeconomic important news that's going to basically dictate the market. The Fed isn't speaking this week. There's no minutes coming out. So it should be a pretty fun week. So this is a chart of Tesla. Obviously, you can see that it's showing a lot of weakness. Broke below a major level of support. But you have to understand that this week there's going to be a lot of opportunity to be an option seller because there's going to be plenty of volatility to take advantage of as an option seller, especially with earnings coming on. So keep that in mind. So now let's take a look at the 30-year bonds. Obviously, if the 30-year bonds are doing strong and they're showing support and they're looking bullish, that means that the overall stock market is also going to show that same strength. All right. So currently, the bonds, this looks like a retest of the 782% fib from the lows to the highs here. So the bonds should be bouncing from here. If not, obviously it's going to continue falling and it's going to be bad for the stock market. But if we were to bounce, it would basically be at this level, especially with this big wick. You could see this candle right here, big wick. We wicked below levels of support, closed above, and now it's normal to have some sort of a retest back and fill a bit of this wick before continuing on higher. So we're going to have to see if the bonds actually do continue on higher. So there's that for the bonds. Let's take a look at the dollar. So the dollar, this is the chart of the dollar on the daily. It's showing way more strength than the bonds are. So we know that if the dollar is strong, then the stock market falls. So currently the dollar bounced off of the 20 exponential moving average. This move to the downside should have led to a retest of these levels down here. But the fact that we had an abrupt about face off of not really a very strong level of support, this just shows a lot of buying pressure into the dollar. This could be a fake out, but generally when you see this sort of strength in the stock market, on a stock, for example, if you see this sort of strength here, this usually leads to new highs. But since this ended up happening before the weekend, we could have some weird price action heading into the next week, but this is generally very strong usually. So the only caveat for continuation to the upside in the dollar is basically if we have an earnings beat, but I don't know if that's going to happen. It's been a theme of quarter three that companies are reporting very bad earnings basically in advance. And I don't see how these stocks really do well this week, especially given the fact that AMD and Nvidia and a lot of the chips are already showing a negative effect for quarter three earnings. So it's going to be very interesting. This could potentially just be a fake out, but overall, Pragmatically, this is a very, very bullish move. But yeah, we just have to take it one day at a time. All right, so now this is the daily chart of the SPY. We clearly see that there was a very, very abrupt about face off of the 370 level. We couldn't hold above this trend line here, and we fell below 360. All right, so what I want to do is I just want to make a fib level from the most recent lows to the most recent highs. And we can see we basically bounced exactly off the 618% fib. Generally, we should be getting a bounce off of the 618% fib. But basically the last line of defense for bulls is the 786% fib. And that was basically what I showed you guys on the 30-year bond. So this is a really, really interesting spot for the market. Generally what ends up happening is, especially for large tech stocks earnings, is there's a run up into earnings. So with Tesla earnings happening on Wednesday, it's going to be pretty interesting to see whether they can keep the 618% fib as support. And basically, if this big green candle can continue the momentum upwards, that is what everyone is basically playing at the moment. It would be very, if we end up breaking lows here within this week, then there's no real support below 347. There is some basically at like 343, but the main levels of support are nowhere, like it's no man's land essentially below 347. And things can get very, very dramatic to the downside. So it's going to be very, very interesting. There's, clearly this doesn't like immediately look very, very bullish, but we did bounce exactly off of a level that we needed to bounce off of technically. And this level held as support pretty perfectly. So that would be the only reason why we continue up higher. But aside from that, the main level that we want to see, I want to see 2 closes above this 50% fib. Ideally, I want to see 2 closes above 360. That would give a much better opportunity for us to continue on higher. But even that is not necessarily like 100% guarantee that we're going to move to the upside, because we did see multiple closes above this level of resistance here when we were trading above 371, and we ended up going short because I was saying that the market does not have enough strength to show strength after consolidation. The market was only showing aggressive strength after one day after another when there was no real consolidation. And that only happened basically one other time where we did consolidate and move on higher. So my view is I want to see some strength above 360 heading into next week. I want to see 360 holding as support. And then the main target to the upside for bulls down here, pragmatically, the risk reward is obviously the overall momentum and everything is bearish. Obviously, we had a very, very big red candle. But just from a trader standpoint, we're basically risking $10 because the SPY is at 357 for a potential retest to 380. So the odds favor being bullish down here. Okay. It pragmatically does favor being bullish down here for a swing up to these levels of resistance. Whether we get them or not, that's irrelevant. But, immediately that is what my view is. And aside from that, there's not really much else to look at. We saw a lot of weakness out of, all of these large stocks. And basically, we caught Microsoft really, really well. Microsoft is showing the most strength relative. And everything else, all these other large tech stocks are really, really weak. So essentially, we just need to see if they can hold these levels of support at the 786% fib, the 618% fib, or the 50% fib and continue on higher. And there's not really much else to look at, in my opinion. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. In my opinion, it pays more to be bullish down here. And yeah, it's going to be a really, really fun week. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and have an amazing Sunday. Thank you.